It was 6 months ago. A mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. Oh yes. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a choice of Steins Gate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Shlomes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And after a grueling trial of many twists and turns because its ace attorney finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation, was the man's reaction after the trial. But his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Shlomes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Barts at once. Bartholomew's, in case you're wondering. So Susato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. St. Bartholomew's, that's the hospital. 21st February, 5:30 a.m., St. Bartholomew's Hospital. Recovery ward. There's a rat right there. There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Shlomes. I think not. Oh. You're late. What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Shlomes. And it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She only just regained consciousness. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. Alright, so that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back. Her name is... yes, here we are. Miss Green. Alright, let's examine what we got. First off, let's see if we can interact with the rat. A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo, an enormous mouse. Vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem the best. But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Yeah, probably not. That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though. I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. Change of clothes, no doubt, and... Quite rude. No, Mr. Naruhodo. You must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. That's your reasoning? Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Hello? Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone? Do you think? My, Mr. Naruhodo. I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least, I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Looks like clearly he's been drawing her, or maybe painting her, something along those lines. There are lots of bottles in the cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a patient here, I feel sure you take some medicine by mistake when you are half asleep. That is a worry. But at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it only has a flimsy-looking one. Oh, I have no doubt you managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Miss Suzuto. I don't know. What's on this? That's the thing, it's like I can't see it. What we got? There are all sorts of medicines in this cabinet, look. I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this. Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors. I don't imagine that would stop you even if you were hungry. I worried that you'd break the lock. Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Miss Suzuto. Ah, this looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so... he or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. Ah, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. But the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman. Hope she hasn't read this. There may be a reason for it, like her food that she's eating and stuff like that, like her medicines, like it may interact with each other. It's like nil by mouth is important. It's a thing. It's a thing. Good morning. What's your bear? Hello, I'm Naruhodo, from the Empire of Japan. Oh no. Was it your life that... Are you the man who... No, I'm a lawyer. And I'm Suzuto Mikotaba. Pleased to meet you. Oh no, was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you regained consciousness and wanted to come give you our best wishes. Best wishes for me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. Well, you just need to get loads of practice. Like, natural talent is very, very, very rare. Especially with art. Like in terms of like painting, drawing. Natural talent is extremely rare. Like, you have to practice a hell of a lot. You get better and better over time. It takes years. Keep at it. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. About the incident. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What terrible experience you had, Miss Green. A lot of dots. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick and dense, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in the hospital, I mean? Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. What? Oh no. We're also relieved that you are on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. About yourself. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no. I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts. Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh, no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road. I see. How very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away from the underground from here. And Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton town centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Moustache. Inferior means, I suppose Seki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine artist student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh, yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there a Mr. Narrow Fodder here, Mr. Narrow Fodder? Narrow Fodder now? Well, if you're looking for Mr. Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Ah, Mr. Narrow Fodder, good. This is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Natsume. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me. Why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume? Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Ah, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note before? No, how could I have? It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. That would be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hail fiacre. I feel like I know that word. At once. Again, it's one of the things where it's like, I probably know the word if I heard it out loud. Written down, no idea. It was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Worse? Worse? How could it be worse? 21st of February, 7:18 a.m., Mr. Natsume's lodgings, ground floor. Oh dear. I mean, that's the guy we saw in the previous game. What on earth? Oh my, the gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead. Locum student, Mr. Nahara, Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day and there's no early bird should have got a worm like that. Woeful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Not the horrible Herlock Shlomes. Shoo, shove yourself the door. I never invited you. Mr. Shlomes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume. I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Alright. Still got your fish and chips, I see. Here they are already, the busybodies. Ah, Inspector Gregson. What a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at the crime scene, Shlomes. Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene. Don't go touching anything. Oh, good morning to you too, Sunshine. Well, let's examine. First off, the body. Oi, I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene. Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance, I know your kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it. Someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? We'll open the window. Oh. Alright, it sounds like I better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Alright. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shamspeare, or Shamespeare, something along those lines. Anyway, he was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shamspeare. It was the landlord, old Mr. Garadeb, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. Fella didn't rise at his usual hour, so Garadeb got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Garadeb have a bad leg? Ah, yeah, you're right there. It was just Jerry Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? Soseki-san? The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for pretty crimes. Yeah, no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fella looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the culprit. I mean, cohabitor. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. Certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such a odd fellow, doesn't he? Poor man. How unfortunate. Anyway, can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella's been a goner that long. Body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Indeed. Right, so... Inspector, what was the victim's name? Right, I want to go through this very quickly. It's just that... Do I have options that... Can I skip that dialogue? No. That's court record. Do I not have like a quick skip? Because I want to get back to investigating. Like, why is there some kind of device over there with a padlock on it? Why? Clearly hooked up to the gas, though. A locked gas meter? Could be. Are you still talking? Thank you. Yeah, he's not letting me go at anything. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Alright. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So the victim lived here on the ground floor. Your room is just 1 story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. So did you know the victim? Were you friends? Well? Don't keep dotting at me. What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken up by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never. On my honor, I swear it. What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? But when we found him here, I felt wretched. Which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector over there. There he is. Mr. Shlomes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow, investigating naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Shlomes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been in here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness. But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Shlomes? Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Shlomes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. And it's either in his food or in his tea then. Nonsense! Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Shlom's deductions? No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Shlomes. Spare no detail. But of course. Let the theatrical tragedy before us be unravelled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Shlomes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will have found before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Shlom's Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Here we go. The Great Deduction. The game is afoot. Topic 1. Cause of death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, soap. 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Why is the soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course! The fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lava around the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Now, personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. What? Poisoning from soap ingestion. Sure. Suicide or murder? The cause of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall the death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was unlocked, and the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was cleansed on its way to the hereafter. Cleansed? No possible perpetrator present. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Shlom's Great Deduction. Right. So many dots. So many dots. And there's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was it would cleanse my gut. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh? What's that? It's Mr. Natsume. I couldn't help noticing him shuddering, quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense! Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it into an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the keywords in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1.